Armbian.
Nothing happens. Oh no, my board is broken.
So, your board doesn't boot. Now what? Hey everyone, I am Werner and in this video I will show you some basic steps you can take to troubleshoot booting issues on Armbian. To start things off, here is some basic background information. The best and often only way to debug boot issues is by wiring up a debug serial console. But what is actually a debug serial console, you may ask? See, almost all boards that Armbian supports come with a so-called debug serial console. This console allows to retrieve information and even interact with the bootloader, which often doesn't support HDMI output. The debug serial console is enabled on all Armbian images by default. To connect to this debug console, you need a USB UART adapter, like this one here. Thankfully, these devices are dirt cheap, so I highly recommend you to pick one up. Lastly, we will rely on this tool later in this video. It doesn't really matter which adapter you get, but I recommend one that features one of these chips shown here. Before debugging the boot process on software level, let's start with some common basic hardware related issues that can prevent booting. There are 3 things you should check before continuing: the SD card, the downloaded image, power and wiring. I won't go into much detail why you should check certain things, since it would be out of scope of this video. Instead, we will focus on what to check and how to check it. Alright, let's start with your microSD card. Check if it is genuine. There are many counterfeit SD cards in existence, way more you might think. However, there are tools like H2TestW or F3 that can detect such fakes. I highly recommend using one of these tools to check your microSD card. These tools are mentioned in the Armbian documentation, and I've included a link to it in the info box here and in the video description down below. The next possible culprit is powering and wiring. To cut a long story short, try the following things. If possible, use a different power supply and a different cable. Depending on your board, you might have other options for powering available, like a DC barrel plug or using GPIO pins. If possible, refer to these alternative methods for powering. You can find a lot of technical background, such as why powering via micro USB is actually a bad idea, by following the links in the video description. Lastly, it is important to check if the image is properly written to the SD card. This needs to be divided into 2 things that needs to be checked. Check if the image...
Lila, du, kommst du denn her? Und whoop.
A little cat content. Alright. Check if the image is authentic and if the image was written properly. Each image comes with a so-called checksum, which can be used to check if the downloaded image is identical to the one provided by the server. Don't underestimate the possibility of bit errors while downloading, as these can happen. Check the Armbian documentation for instructions on how to do this on both Linux and Windows operating systems. Now that you know that both your SD card and the downloaded image are fine, you need to make sure that the image is written properly to the SD card. Therefore, using a tool like USB Imager or Berliner Etcher is highly recommended for writing Armbian images to SD cards, because these tools actually verify the written data. In comparison, DD does not provide this feature. Alright, now that we've checked a lot of hardware related things, let's move on to software level issues. As mentioned at the beginning, having a USB UART adapter to access the serial console is absolutely mandatory to track down boot issues. If you do not have one, pause the video now and pick one up. I'll be right here for you once you have it. Anyway, to hook it up you need 3 wires. Data read, which is called RX, data write, which is called TX, and ground, which is usually marked as GND. Depending on your board, the UART pinout might be labeled directly, close by or at the back of the board. Or you have to look it up in the board documentation provided by the manufacturer. The wiring is rather simple. Connect ground to ground and cross RX and TX. You don't need any other pins that the adapter might offer. It is also important to mention that never accidentally connect the 5 volts or 3.3 volts to the serial console, as this might destroy your board. Just be careful. The next thing you need to know is the so-called baud rate. This determines at what speed the data exchanges takes place. If the baud rate is wrong, you don't get any data besides garbage. The most commonly used baud rates are 1.5 megabaud and 115.2 kilobaud. Lastly, we need a client that can interact with the serial console. For Linux users, the widely available and well-known tool Screen will do. Windows user can use a free tool like Putty. Here are 2 examples.
So here I am on my Mechatronics R58 Mini, and I have plugged in my UART device. And if I go down here to dev, there I find TTY USB 0. That's the device we need. So let's open my console. And here I can do sudo screen and then the device name dev TTY USB 0. And then the baud rate, so I'm using the CADAS Vim3 here, and the baud rate is 115/200. And now I plug in my CADAS Vim3, and as you see, all the info is appearing. And after a bit I can log in, so I can work with the CADAS Vim3. I personally, NicoD, use Minicom for this. You only have to set it up once, and then you don't have to think about the device name and the baud rate anymore.
Once everything is set, you can power up your board and it should immediately see the output of the bootloader. Now, at this point there are 3 possibilities. The board boots up just fine, so the issue must have been UART related and we sorted it out earlier. If there is no output at all, this can mean either your board is dead or beyond recovery, or an unlikely case has occurred where the Armbian provided images does not boot. In this case, you should refer to the board does not start forums and check if somebody else has a similar issue. I'll leave a link in the info box and in the description. If there is some output but the board does not boot up correctly, you should refer to the appropriate forum of your board and include the entire output of the debug serial console to your post. Thank you for watching this tutorial on how to debug boot issues on Armbian Linux. I hope it was helpful. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, and if you have suggestions, please leave a comment down below. That's it. Cut.